Good morning everyone, today we're going to be comparing the Slayer with the Braver because I know a lot of people have been comparing the two classes together and seeing, what does more damage, what has more mobility, what are the strengths and weaknesses of each class, and so in today's video we're going to be discussing that. But before we jump into the video, if you're new to the channel, I upload NGS content daily, so if you do play this game, I would really appreciate a subscribe as it really helps out the channel. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin the video. So right off the bat, I'm going to give you guys the main points. If you care about damage and that's the only thing you care about and you are perfect at execution or you strive to play perfectly, then Slayer is definitely going to be your cup of tea. The Slayer is more powerful than the Braver. The Slayer has more mobility than the Braver. However, all of this comes at a cost of it demands perfection. You need to play really well and you need to have hours and hours of practice to get into a rhythm with the Slayer class versus the Braver, which is a lot more accessible and a lot more easier and a lot more forgiving compared to the Slayer. So if you are that type of person that always builds glass cannon, you're always seeking out the biggest numbers, the fastest runs, and you strive to play perfectly on whatever class you play or whatever game you play, then I think Slayer is going to fit you perfectly because it is that type of class. It's the class that rewards you a lot if you can play perfectly, if you can squeeze out every little bit of DPS, and because of how the kit works for the Slayer, where you need to constantly be on the offensive to fill up your overdrive gauge in order to get into overdrive and then increase your critical rate and maintain that critical rate. It's all about attack, offense, and dealing tons of damage. So if that is your cup of tea, then Slayer is the class for you. It is perfect. It is really fun, extremely fast paced, and just being able to see those really big crit numbers and constantly improving your game because of how high the skill ceiling is, it's a very satisfying class to play. Now for me personally, I will not be playing the Slayer as my main class. Slayer is definitely a class I enjoy playing, but I am not mechanically skilled enough to play the class. I'm going to be probably the first creator out there to let you know that I am not good enough to play Slayer. I can play Slayer at a casual level. However, if I want to go to Geometric Labyrinth with all the modifiers and I want to farm at the highest difficulty, I cannot do it. I simply don't have the muscle memory or the patience to play at that level of gameplay for a long period of time. It demands too much of my attention span. Now, of course, with the dual quest coming out, that is also going to be even harder than the Geometric Labyrinth with all the modifiers because you're under a time constraint. You have to defeat the boss in under 5 minutes. So it's going to be even more stressful because you're going to need to take risks in order to pump out as much DPS as possible. So for me personally, I am staying with the Braver. The reason for this is simply because the Braver is just a lot more forgiving. You take a hit here, you take a hit there, you are perfectly fine. You're not going to be severely punished for it simply because the Braver's kit has a lot of ways to get back your HP. You got enhanced healing whenever you use a healing item. Whenever you get knocked down, you just jump and boom, you recover some health. And the base mechanics of the Braver is just a lot more casual friendly. Your window of opportunity with your counters as a Braver is going to be a lot larger versus the Slayer where it's a lot tighter. However, it does come at a cost. First of all, the Braver does not deal as much damage as the Slayer. It's nowhere close. If you're comparing a fully maxed out Braver versus a fully maxed out Slayer and they both execute perfectly, the Slayer is going to pull ahead immensely simply because of their kit. Their kit gives them a lot of crit chance, so they're going to be critting a lot more often and they're going to be hitting those bigger, juicier numbers more often versus the Braver, which does not have an ability to increase their critical chance. So in conclusion, if you're looking for extremely engaging gameplay and you're hyper focused on your surroundings, the boss rotations, your counters, your own rotations, and you really enjoy that type of gameplay, then yes, Slayer all the way, because it demands perfect execution but rewards you immensely with tons of damage. Now the Braver on the other hand is easy to play, extremely forgiving, very easy to learn, and not super crazy difficult to master. It's going to be a lot easier to master the Braver class compared to the Slayer class simply because the Slayer's rotations are a lot more complex. You've got 8 photon arts versus the Braver's 4, and on top of that you've also got a lot more mobility and you need to constantly be assessing the situation in order to squeeze out as much damage as physically possible versus the Braver where you can be very patient, very systematic. You just wait for the attacks to come in, you counter them, you count to 3 with your photon arts and you do an empowered normal attack, And the basic rotation as well as combat style of the Braver is going to be a lot more systematic, a lot more straightforward versus the Slayer where it's very situational and you need to think on the fly and adjust your playstyle based on the situation. So at the end of the day, I think both classes are amazing. It just depends on how you want to play NGS. But let me know in the comment section below, what do you guys think?
Special thanks to all the members for supporting the channel. It really means a lot to me. Thank you again.
But yeah, that's all I wanted to cover in today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, I would appreciate a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Bye!